Welcome again to an edition of Courier Video, and we have with us today a very special guest, Dr. Wayne Bray, who is the new president of the South Carolina Baptist Convention. So, Wayne, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
God bless you. Hope you have a great year.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're delighted to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe your family so South Carolina Baptists can get a little better acquainted with you maybe?
So my background is unquestionably kind of not only born, but just absolutely just soaked in Southern Baptist life. My dad was a student at BBI in Graceville, Florida, when I was born in Dothan, Alabama, and he pastored a church in Slocum, Alabama. And I can remember riding on the seat of the bus beside him while we did bus ministry. So my background is, deep in the roots of Southern Baptist culture.
Where do you see the convention today? Where is the South Carolina Baptist Convention in your mind?
Compared to a lot of what's going on in our national convention, I think that South Carolina, for all our differences and for whatever we may, different groups we might come from, I'm encouraged by the fact that we all really do share the same mission and we're able to work together. And it seems like a lot less drama. And so my hope and prayer would be that would definitely stay the same. We're in a contentious time when there's any number of options and opportunities to really get mad at each other. Mm-hmm. And so I love coming out of Alex Sands, a time of service, and our celebrating the fact that he's the first African-American president in the history of our state. That's significant. Mm-hmm. So it's a great thing to celebrate. And he's a good friend of mine. I love him dearly. And so kind of, launching off of that, just to really just look into the heart of the fact that, we are truly a unified convention, and we need to really celebrate that, maximize that opportunity.
I know you haven't developed fully a theme yet. Could you give us a clue as to the direction of the theme?
Yeah, our church, First Baptist Simpsonville, has been a great church for a long time. It's not anything that I have to do with it. In fact, I believe God blesses our church in spite of me. I would be the last person that would have nominated me as president, to be quite honest with you. I'm not the kind of guy, at least in my assessment of myself, that would be the first one on the list, But First Baptist is a fantastic church. And I think sometimes people see churches like ours, and they might think that maybe certain churches in our convention are less in tune, or maybe even less concerned about some of the other churches. And I want to maximize this year to, in some sense, maybe overcome some of those misconceptions, but even more importantly, I think build some bridges that would help, I think, reinforce and reassure some pastors that, number one, we're all in this thing together. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how small or large. It doesn't matter what the budget is. None of those things matter at the end of the day. And we need to pool our resources together and focus on some real significant things that I think launch out of this idea of unity. This idea of Alex's theme has been advanced together. And so that is a unifying, at least an allusion to a unifying theme. But really, my heart is more practical unity that would be us coming together to focus on revitalization, for example. We have had the opportunity to partner with a church here in Greenville recently, Dunning Baptist Church, and seen some great successes. I know that James Nugent in our convention leads a department of folks that have a team that are working with ongoing revitalization. I would love to bring those churches who are healthy and thriving together with churches who are in need of and desire revitalization, and I think just build a picture of the perfect example of unity we could give, and that is that we're going to work together to advance the gospel, and so that is exactly what Alex, I think, has laid the foundation for.
Okay, how do you think that you can promote that? How can you help people to see it and be motivated to want to be a part of it?
And I don't know that repetition sometimes is the best way to reinforce what Christ has already given us as a theme. There's nothing new under the sun. We know that. So there's no theme is going to be a theme that people just go, I just never thought about that before. John 13:35, though, it's unquestioned that Jesus' heart for us is that we all be together. I mean, by this all men will know that you're my disciples, that you have love for one another. So I think just any time that I'm given a microphone, I'm going to try to remind people not what makes us separate, but what makes us united. And I want to remind them of not only the commonality, but why we cooperate. I mean, I don't cooperate with South Carolina Baptists, because I think they're really nice people. I do, but that's not why I cooperate. I do cooperate because of missions, but I think even beyond that, we cooperate because of Jesus. And his call, the Great Commission, the cooperative program is obviously the foundation of our missions operation and financial giving, but it's deeper than that. I think the reason we come together and the reason why we share our common mission is because we share a common Savior. And so just reminding people of the simple things, the basics that actually we started agreeing on to begin with, because even back then people disagreed on things, when our convention was founded. It's just, I think over the years we have become so segmented into tribal differences in our culture, our political culture for sure. But even beyond that, I think in every area of culture, everybody wants to divide you and get you into the smallest group possible to share, identical beliefs. Well, we're not going to be able to do that and be effective in ministry as a convention. So I think I'm just going to try everywhere I'm given an opportunity to reinforce the fact that no matter where we are on the spectrum of Bible-believing, gospel-centered believers, that we're in this thing together, and we need to help each other.
You're going to focus on the very fundamental basics of our identity and who we are as Southern Baptists.
And this is not a statement that anyone should interpret, or read into, and I'm not at all trying to belittle or minimize any concern. I think everybody has valid concern on any number of sides, but I would say that the things that we oftentimes focus on become distractions, and we become more attracted to the distractions than we do the actual Christ who called us into the ministry to begin with. And so sometimes we have to deal with issues and come to conclusions and make corrections. That is all absolutely a fact. But I do think that if we become so fixated on the things that separate us, they become distractions from the actual reason we're in this thing to begin with, then it's counterproductive completely. And so I really wish that could happen nationwide. I wish the Southern Baptist Convention, I came up in a day where it was almost the opposite extreme, to where you just, however the stage votes, you vote, boy. That's kind of the way I remember those were the days, and we are so far from that right now. But the whole idea back then, for better or for worse, was you could trust the people in leadership. And I know why we don't trust certain people on certain sides of every issue, but I want to be a leader that people, even if they may disagree with something with me on a particular small, minor, peripheral issue, they would at least know that my heart is bent toward Jesus, and that my desire and my leadership will always be with the heart and the mind of what's in the best interest of our cooperative mission.
To comment on this, ever since the beginning, Baptists have never had a unified theology where we dotted every I and crossed every T the same way, and we've always had room for that interaction.
Sure.
Seems like maybe today, do you think we've splintered more into these individual affinity or identity groups rather than having the unity maybe we did and work together in spite of our differences?
I think that's what actually ends up happening in our culture right now. So even in any particular political party, you have any number of factions that would agree on this but disagree on that. And I think what we've done, if I'm just being real transparent, is I feel like we have adapted our cultural tendencies. And we've allowed, and people, you hear preachers often talk about, well, we don't need to be driven by the culture. We need to be counterculture. And we love to talk about that when it's talking about music or any number of other issues. But it's interesting when it gets to the political conversation, we don't really see what is most obvious. It's legitimately the elephant in the room, and that is we are legitimately becoming puppets of political mentality in our culture. We're becoming identical. even if not in the beliefs. What I'm saying is our strategies, our tactics for communication, and even the way we look at our brothers and our sisters become very much, let's compartmentalize, let's categorize, let's fight about it, let's argue. The idea of dialogue, like genuine dialogue about an issue to come to a consensus, that is an odd, almost like archaic idea nowadays. Nobody wants to get in a room and talk about it.
It's a rarity, isn't it?
Oh. And so that's what it's going to take to cooperate, though. I don't think there's any way forward without, and I'm not saying in South Carolina as much as nationally, without being able to dialogue and come to a consensus that, you know what, these are things that we consider dogma, unquestionable, non-negotiables. These are doctrines that we believe are important. We may have some differences of opinion, but these are important doctrines, and these are beliefs. These beliefs are more of an opinion type or interpretive type stance. There's a lot of different ways people explain that kind of thing, but I think that's the easiest one. I'm afraid we become very dogmatic about our doctrines and our beliefs instead of limiting the things we're dogmatic about to the things that are non-negotiable. We're non-negotiable about almost everything now.
Any one particular thing or two or three that you would want South Carolina Baptists to know about you, how you pastor, your vision, or your plans maybe for how the convention's going to go, particularly with the annual meeting, because that's the big thing.
I would personally like to even bring bivocational pastors and church planters and older pastors, you know. I want us to really be unified. I mean, like, not just in a theme, not a catchy slogan, you know. I think it'd be beautiful to see that happen. And so that's my heart. I don't know, again, specifically how that will, I'll lean heavily on our convention staff for ideas of how we can do that effectively. But I've just talked, in fact, just a minute ago, got off the phone with our executive director, Brother Gary, and I'm committing to actually personally make phone calls to every pastor over the next 365 days, beginning Tuesday. Now that'll take about 5 or 6 phone calls a day to do that, and I will say I'm depending on them picking up the phone when I call, but that's how much I'm invested in wanting this to. I want to invite personally every pastor to come and to bring his messengers. And that's I would love it if South Carolina could be an example to the nation. This is what Christians ought to be looking like. In the midst of all this chaos and confusion, instead of being a group of people that people say, oh, yep, they're just like us, confused, lost, fighting, mad. It'd be pretty cool if they saw a group of people that, in spite of all of that, they had the light for the darkness.
I hope you have a great year as a president. I hope there's not turmoil. I hope the things and challenges you face are good ones. But we'll be praying for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Rudy.
Hope you have a great year. So welcome as our new president. God bless you.
God bless you. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to see what happens at the convention this year and in 2022. God bless you all.